Whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. And as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a damsel came to hearken named Rhoda. And when she knew Peter's voice, she opened not the gate for gladness, but ran in and told how Peter stood before the gate. And they said unto her, Thou art mad. But she constantly confirmed that it was even so. Then said they, It is his angel. But Peter continued knocking, and when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Look at somebody next to you with excitement and enthusiasm and tell them the answer is at the door. Come on, look at somebody else on the other side of you with that same excitement and enthusiasm and tell them the answer is at the door. Amen, amen. As we walk down this corridor, many of us are very familiar with this story because Peter finds himself locked up in prison. The reason he's there is because Herod has already killed James with the sword. And he'd see that it pleased the Jews, so he took Peter into custody, preparing to kill him, but it was during the Passover. It was during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and so he did not want the Jews to be mad at him, so he was not going to kill him during the Passover. But they put Peter in jail. They put him in the inner part of the jail, and they say that he had 4 squadron of guards around him. Each squadron consisted of 4 men. They put him so far back. The reason is that they had so many around them. If you look in Acts chapter 5, you'll find out that they had locked up the apostles before. They locked up the apostles and left them there, and when they came back to get them on the next day, they wasn't there. They were in the temple teaching. And so they did not want Peter to get away like the apostles did the last time. And so they made sure he was covered with all these people. Here Peter is. He's been in jail for a while, but now it's the night before he is to be executed. It's the night before he's to be executed. And now Peter is laying there. He's handcuffed between 2 guards. There are 2 guards at the door of the cell that he is. There are 4 guards outside the door. There are 4 guards outside that door before you could get out of the door to get out of jail. Peter finds himself surrounded by guards. He's handcuffed to 2 guards. He got 2 guards at the door. There are 4 outside and 4 on the other side of that door. It looks as if it's an impossible situation. But we find something very interesting because we find Peter asleep. Peter is asleep between the 2 guards that he handcuffed with, which suggests to me that Peter really wasn't worried about the fact that he was going to be executed in the morning because he really believed that he was in God's hand. Everybody's familiar with this story. The angel came in, woke him up, led him out, unloosed him from 2 guards, took him past 2 more guards, took him past 4 guards, took him by 4 more, took him outside to a gate that was locked and bronze, but opened up automatically, took him down the street, took him around the corner, and when he got him there, he left him. Now watch this. All of this happened while Peter was half asleep. The reason I know Peter is half asleep because Peter thought he was seeing a vision. He actually thought he was dreaming. He really didn't believe that he was being delivered. He thought he was asleep. And the text tells us that by the time he got out of jail, by the time he got around the corner, the text says in verse 11, and when Peter come to himself. In other words, Peter was half asleep during the whole time. He really didn't believe what was going on. He didn't know what was going on, but he was being delivered. And by the time he got out and got into the fresh air, he woke up and said, you know what? I realize now that Lord has sent an angel to deliver me. And is there anybody here tonight that you found yourself in a situation that seemed impossible, and before you know it, you were out of it, didn't know how you got out of it, don't know when you got out of it, don't know how you got through it. You just know that all of a sudden you came to yourself and realize that it was God that brought you out. I thought I had some folk in here tonight. Somebody that could get excited about the fact that God is able to bring you out of some of the most precarious situations without you even knowing it. Before you even look up and actually come to your senses, you don't know that God has already brought you out. Everybody is familiar with this story, and they get excited about the deliverance of Peter. But what bothered me, what kind of caught my attention, is what was happening at Mary's house. Over at Mary's house, they're praying. They're praying that Peter be delivered because they have no money to get him out of jail. They have no attorney to plead his case. And so the only thing that they can depend on is prayer. And so they go to Mary's house and they hold a prayer meeting. They're praying that God will make a way for Peter. Now, while Peter is on his way out of jail, they're still praying. When he finally comes to himself, when he finally realizes that he's been set free, the first thing comes to mind. He says, listen, I need to get off the street, so I'm going to head to Mary's house. It's in the text. You keep watching. It says that he got to Mary's house and he began to knock on the door for them to let him in. Now watch this. They're praying for Peter's deliverance. They're praying for Peter to be delivered out of jail. They're praying that he gets set free. They're praying to God, asking God to do something for him. But now watch this. Don't lose me here. Now they get a knock at the door, and when they hear it, a damsel named Rhoda goes to the door. She hears Peter's voice. She gets excited and she runs back inside. But there's a problem. They're praying for Peter to get out of jail. God has heard and answered their prayer. The answer is at the door. They prayed for him to be out. He's out. He's knocking at the door. The young girl is excited. She goes in and tells the saints, Peter is at the door. Now, they prayed for God's miracle. They prayed for God to move in their situation. And now God has answered their prayer. And the answer is at the door. She goes in. She tells them, Peter is at the door. They say, no, you must be crazy. Can I help somebody tonight? Why pray for God to move in your life, and then when he sends the answer to the door, you don't want to answer the door? Rhoda's excited. I can understand her. She's excited because she hears Peter's voice. She was there while they were praying. She goes to the door and hears Peter's voice. She gets excited and runs back. She forgets to open the door. But she runs back and tells him, Peter is at the door. Now the saints that are praying say you must be crazy. She said, no, he is at the door. Nobody thinks. Nobody stops to think that maybe we ought to go to the door. They continue to argue and fuss with her, telling her, no, we've got a better understanding of what could be happening. We know you think it's Peter, But the truth is, it's his angel. And his angel is at the door because they believe that when you die, everybody had a guardian angel and it would show up right after you died. They prayed for Peter to be set free. God sets him free. He comes and knocks on the door. There is still another dilemma. The dilemma is Peter has just escaped jail. And now they've left him on the outside of the door. And Peter is thinking to himself, somebody please hurry up and open the door before somebody come out here and see me and I end up back in jail. Watch this. If you're not careful, God will send your answer to the door, and if you don't open it up fast enough, by the time you get back, your answer may be gone. But Peter keeps on knocking. And ain't God good that he didn't discourage Peter? He didn't discourage the answer and say, Peter, maybe you need to go somewhere else. But God wanted them to see that he heard and answered their prayer. They kept talking about Rhoda, but she constantly affirmed that it was even so. They argued and said it was his angel. Peter continued knocking at the door. And sooner or later somebody said, maybe we need to go and open the door.